Nate, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's
Thank
good
you.
to have you on, finally. It's been
Yeah,
a while.
yeah.
Um,
Well, it's been like never. I've never
it's been
featured on
never,
yours.
yeah. So now I'm looking forward to this because you get to be on the other side of the podcast now.
It's quite different, man.
Is it out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, it was. Funny enough, it was.
Yeah.
And let's see. I guess kicked off when I was at, let's say I was getting a shower.
Uh-huh.
That's when it kicked off, getting a shower, finishing up. Like, when you're finishing up and you feel good, look in the mirror, feeling good, and then it's like, ooh, what am I going to wear? Ooh, snap. I'm not in charge of this one. I don't know what's coming right now. So I said that I should put on a different t-shirt. I wasn't looking like, what should I wear? Not that I was making a big deal out of it, but like you said, the
More
anxiety.
thought is going
Exactly.
than
The
usual.
exactly. The anxiety kicked in. And then, coincidentally, this t-shirt.
Don't sweat it. There you go.
Don't sweat it. So basically, just I looked at it, I was like, you know what, man? I'm kicking with the homie, don't sweat it. I know
Nice.
it's something new, it's out of the comfort zone, but don't sweat it. So yeah, shout out Slan.
Shout out
Slan
Slan.
got me.
Slan
So
Collective. That's how we met, really.
yeah,
So shout out
true.
Slan.
True, yeah. So I got it inspired. The fit today was don't sweat it.
Nice.
And it worked psychologically and the spirit. It
I
felt
like
right.
it. Yeah, I mean, no. I want to use this time and space as like opportunity for the world to get to know you more as a person.
Interesting.
Who Nate is, who Nate Slan is. Nate Slan.
Native Slan. Slan X-Man.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Nate, you're one of the coolest guys I know.
Oh, mate, don't say that. No, I'm joking. but
What's your
thank you.
secret to it all?
What? How does one answer that? Sorry, the mic would probably be peaking there. You got me triggered.
Uh-huh.
So wait, what's the question?
What's your secret?
What's the secret to being cool?
Mm-hmm. To being you.
Okay. Okay. That's maybe better. It's the secret to being me is trying to find out who me is or who I am, and I would say that's a secret because like being curious about that makes me a lot more comfortable with myself. So the secret to being myself is embracing self.
Yeah.
I know that sounds short and
Simple is good.
yeah, I don't know if it makes sense because one say, okay, that's kind of like maybe a generic statement. But I mean, in the sense of rather than looking outwards, I spend a lot reflecting or looking at myself and then trying to find that thing called the spirit and make sure everything aligns with self. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Self-exploration, self-knowledge,
Yeah,
search for self.
yeah. I feel like that's the continuous thing. And doing whatever helps me sleep.
Mm.
Whatever that might mean to a person, like whatever, like it's like being creative. If I know that I've edited, I've done this and that, chances are I'll go to sleep somewhat happy, or in the sense of feeling charged up and excited for the following day. It's like, oh, actually, you know what? Because when you're laying there, you're like, oh, you know what? I did this. Oh, that's great. However, oh, actually, I could freak this and that, this and that, this and that. It's like, oh, yeah, actually, no, I'm gonna try that. Go the calorie. Ooh, actually, ooh. So now you're going to sleep. You're excited for tomorrow. So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Hope it makes sense.
Yeah. it's yeah. Dedication to self.
Of some sort.
So you do videography, photography, podcasting, clothing design,
Yeah,
and you're also an engineer.
that's true.
What would you say drives your creative force? And also, what are you trying to do or capture with your creativity?
It's essentially, I would say, in simple terms, self-expression. Because I feel like going back to self-exploration comes those things. And self-exploration also comes with expressing yourself, if you know what I mean. So, because you don't know your limitations or you don't know what you enjoy unless you explore yourself. So by doing that, it somewhat coincides with expressing yourself. Because, like you said, clothing. I like clothes.
Yeah.
The first thing we spoke about was me getting dressed, thinking about, wait, what should I go for? In the sense of, for me, I feel like there's an element of storytelling through the clothes you wear. Now that's dependent on one's conditioning. It's like we can both look at the same picture and you might see something completely different, I might see something different. So with the knowledge of that, or with the sort of thinking that that exists, it's almost like I'm expressing myself through all these elements. Yes, you listed quite a few actually, but the major thing about it is enjoying and loving what I see. It also goes down to how I present myself. When I feel good, I just might express myself better.
Yeah. So is it about telling a story? About, so are you telling a story when you, for example, choose where you were? Or is it more about how you feel?
It's more so, yeah, I'd say it's my story. So it's telling a story, which is my story, in the sense of, if you look at me, you might, because I like a static, so if you look at me, you might make whatever judgments in your head. That's cool. But I'd like to think I'm approachable.
Yeah.
So that's almost like a window of opportunity. And I've had opportunities like that whereby someone sees something and I'm like, yo, where'd you get that? I'm like, oh, snap, this. So actually, this is part of the new collection. I'm actually sampling this. Oh, that's a true story, by the way. Even though it sounds, you know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sampling this, blah, blah, blah. And then there's talking to, like, and then it's, oh, what does it mean, blah, blah, blah. We go into that. And it's like, each one teach one as well as anything. So me expressing myself makes the other person, if they are expressing themselves, it's like, oh, you know, how do you do that? How do you do that? Because actually, prior to this conversation, we're just talking about mics.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you know what? I'm doing it this way. I'm going to, like, oh, you know what? Put me on game in case you know something that I don't know,
Yeah.
in case I learn something. So, yeah, expression and exploration, that's the major thing that surrounds what I do.
Yeah.
And wanting to leave, I know it sounds quite generic to say leave something behind or influence the world one or the other. It's kind of like one of those ones whereby, well, in school as a kid, that was like, Nate was here, whatever. Like, you know, it's one of those ones.
Make
It's
a
kind of
mark.
playful. Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like playful, but at the same time, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah, that's cool. Self-expression or self-exploration, and then expressing what you've explored
yeah,
in a way.
yeah,
And also, it's also used, it sounds like, as like a way of connection. Like you can connect with things through,
Yeah.
with people
Yeah.
through the things that you've
Yeah.
expressed.
yeah. I can connect with the earth where I live in.
Yeah.
Because I take a picture, I'm like, wow, that's a very nice sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. It's like, ooh, I like how that looks. It's like, no, I'll remember that.
Connection through expression. I
Yeah.
like that. It's tagline.
Yeah. Oh.
So have you always had a creative spark? And do you remember the first instance where it started?
Ooh, that's a good question. But then once again, I feel like the way I'm probably going to answer your questions, I'm probably going to rely on the previous question because I feel like
Go
a
for
lot
it.
of things like work hand in hand. So, in the sense of expression, I'm the dude who did a lot, if that makes sense. So maybe one can argue that maybe, well, through self-reflection, it's like maybe that comes from being an only kid, whereby when you're outside, there isn't really anyone you can follow, or I'm not the type of person anyway. So it's like, you know, I'm just going to express myself, and if you vibe with who I am, let's vibe. If you don't, peace be with you. It's not that deep. So that goes into sports, that goes into me loving clothes. So the creative spark, I've always loved clothes. And maybe that's also connected with my mom. Because my mom, it's like when I was young, always taking me shop. Like, she also loves clothes. Shout out to mom. But like,
So,
she's a great influence. Because like, even her, I go shop. I'm like, oh, I ain't going. It's like, you know, I'm gonna get you a pair of sneakers. I'm like, oh, word? All right then. Now we talking. Let's see what's happening here. Do you know, like,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so clothing was sort of the first.
Yeah, I'd say clothing. I'd say
Nice.
clothing. Oh, right. Okay, so in terms of steps, I'd say clothing. Clothing was the dominant one.
Nice.
But at the same time, it's weird because with photography, it's kind of always been there without me realizing that it's there. So I always taken photos. Or even if I just took them, and sometimes like, wait, I took that photo. It's just like, oh, actually, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, that was a great day, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, let's move on. All those photos were in the chamber. So in terms of where I am today, this year, I actually started a photography page.
Yep.
So in the process, I was actually going through everything. So I had my first camera, maybe it was a film one, when I was really young, maybe early teenage years. But then I lost it. But what I'm getting at is I did enjoy it. And
Mm.
maybe, yeah, it was like the first one that my mom got me. And then I didn't get another one. But once again, something that I overlooked because then smartphones came in. So it was just like, all right, cool, just take a
Take
photo with your,
pictures, yeah.
like, with your phone. Like, I've got bare photos. I'm like, oh yeah, actually, wait, why did I take a photo of this? Like, one of those ones. So it's like I've always taken them, but I never took it as an avenue of expressing yourself. It was just like, oh, I like what I see. That's it, without thinking if anyone else would actually like it,
Yeah.
which is where, well, there's a long story behind the photography in the sense of I didn't take it seriously until someone asked who's taking the slang photos for slang clothing. Then it was like, I am why? So I asked, Snap, would you like to work with us? Want to do this? I'm like, oh,
Cool.
all right. I wasn't thinking like that. And also, that was only highlighted by slang clothing coming up, us needing photographers, and me not really even thinking that, you know what, I can take these photos. So you try to look for other photographers, like, this one saying, this fee, blah, blah, blah. Other one's like, cool, you know what, we can book you and come through. To last minute, yeah, sorry, I can't make it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, long. Then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy a camera. Bought the camera, and then I took the photos, and then, yeah, the journey sort of built itself up on that aspect. Clothing's been there since. Made my first T-shirt, and then this was still in school, and then from there, years later, once again, it's one of those ones that exist, but you overlook it in terms of expressing yourself through clothes, just like I love clothes or how they laid out, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Years later, I go to uni. I wasn't really digging the clothes that were around, and I had Lawrence, you met him,
Yeah.
and then we linked up. So I'm just summarizing the whole story.
Mhm.
Linked up, then Slam Clothing was born, and then, yeah.
Nice.
And then civil engineering, uni coincide with Slam Clothing, because I feel like if I didn't go to uni to do civil engineering,
You would have
then
met Lawrence maybe.
I wouldn't have met Lawrence. So a lot of things are like Godspeed, which is where this is the higher power. This is where it's like, wait, it was written.
Yeah, things are
But
meant to be.
exactly. And then so that's the journey I followed, and yeah,
Nice. Clothing, photography. Those were sort of the roots
yeah,
of it though.
yeah.
Nice.
And it's just come about with me embracing all of them. It's like, oh, yeah, I do enjoy that. You know what? Let me just express myself and put it out there, see what happens.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. What have been or are your biggest creative inspirations? Like I know you said clothing and that, but even within those, what did you see that like really made you want to create? If that question
Yeah,
makes
no,
sense.
it makes sense because okay, so I feel like the inspiration essentially is drawn from just life itself and the human experience that we're all having. That's where essentially comes from, and then the inspiration to then also put it out is also born from I'm just like the other people that are around me. I also bleed red, so why not do what I want?
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
I feel that. Yeah.
So but obviously doing what I want is not at the expense of someone else.
Yeah.
That's a no-no. And if you know me, my intentions are not to harm or do anything to or belittle per se. Like it's not about that. It's just, if it happens, I'm not saying it doesn't, but
It's not the
yo,
intention.
come talk to me. I'm approachable.
Yeah. You
Like I don't take things too personal. So your question was, sorry, I just went on a tangent.
No, it makes sense. Creative inspirations. So life experience.
Yeah,
You're
life
saying.
experiences. I think that's one of also the reasons why like sort of it's going to take me to this morning as well, going again to me taking a shower and getting ready. I started thinking about my senses, like, how we all have five senses. Well, some people, senses are stronger than others, but like I started appreciating the sense of sight and actually seeing things because you can make it what you will. And as far as human interaction, it's easy to draw a picture to someone, but then describing a sound is very, very, we can describe things like in terms of what we taste and what we hear, but not to that finer detail. Sight is one of the only ones that can almost give you the closest thing to it in terms of description.
Yeah.
But then again, I started laughing because I was thinking it's funny because words are also dependent on your conditioning. Because I can tell you this is blah, 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 depending on your conditioning. You'll be like, nope, it's not. It's actually ABC, when really, because it's just like God and Allah. So I'm not taking
Yeah,
it to
yeah, sure.
religion.
No, things
Like,
are
you know what I mean?
arbitrary at their
Do you know what I mean?
roots. Like, yeah.
Exactly. So it's kind of like Allah and God. Other people, depending on the conditioning, you're going to think, oh, we don't speak of Allah over here. But it's like, wait, do you actually know the meaning?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then it's all dependent on conditioning. So it's like those funny
It's
nuances.
just, yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, I appreciate sight. So I think that's why I like visualizing and seeing things. Hence why majority of my sort of creative avenues involve visuals or a visual.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
sight is a beautiful thing.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
And
thing.
yeah, you can describe a lot of things. Like you can describe a color, for example.
Yeah.
How do you describe blue? Without seeing blue.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like to someone, it's yeah, I appreciate sight, man. I think it's also it's one of the underrated, like sort of, yeah,
Take it for granted.
yeah, taken for granted. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's a great source of
Sorry
inspiration.
to take you to my thoughts in the shower.
Hey, I asked.
True that.
Yeah, I think things that we take for granted also serve as one of my biggest inspirations. But like, yeah, the everyday things, either everyday situations or everyday things that we just have, whether it's air, whether it's water, whether it's plants,
Yeah.
trees, clouds. But if you actually like pay attention to them, they're so magical and there's so much about it that you
Yeah.
could talk about them forever. But it's
Yeah.
just like blended into the background. So
Yeah.
it just takes a bit of attention and suddenly it's so interesting.
You're like, wow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, wow. Actually, it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. Do you have a favorite medium to work on out of all the ones that you do?
Out of all the ones I do, I think I'm in the game of expressing myself. And through expressing myself, I hope that each one teach one, because I feel like that's evolution.
Yeah.
So do I have a bit, I wouldn't say I have a favorite. It would be a difficult one to call. However, the only thing I would say is, thankfully, civil engineering is funding sort of the other avenues.
rest.
So I'm grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of do I have my favorite, I think it's very hard to call, because like I said earlier in the conversation, I'm also in the game of self-exploration.
Yeah.
So with that, I feel like I need to also have that element of learning to detach from things, and also seeking improvement. So today I can say, yeah, like I really love, let me say, hypothetically, videography. That's a serious thing. Whereas you might find that actually my calling is down that route, but in a different element, in the sense of it could actually be videography. However, it's actually, let's say, podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, actually, you know what, maybe that inspiration or me learning myself and growing more is probably on that avenue. So I don't like closing doors. I like opening all the doors. Like if and I'm gonna go through them because I like expressing myself.
Yeah. That's a great
Like,
answer.
it's almost like challenging yourself as well as anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to landlock myself.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that question that I asked, I wasn't even expecting you to pick one, but that is a fantastic answer.
Damn, it's like damn. It's
Because yeah, like your favorite is basically self-expression.
yeah, exactly.
It's the root, not
Yeah,
not the
exactly.
branches. It's like the root of the
Le-
tree, not the branches.
So, and there's always seasons for something. Because you might find that this season I'm like, yo, photography, I'm in my bag. And that's the one I'm on. And then next season, be like, you know what? I'm enjoying videos.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be like, no, I'm strictly a photographer. No, don't even hit record.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Not
Whereas you
burning
might
those
find
bridges.
that that's only a seed
Yeah.
for something else. So I don't want to condition the subconscious to think, yo, this is it. We're not settling, P.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to, like I said, we're in the game of self-expression.
Yeah.
And hopefully through that, each one teach one.
Amen. That's great. You mentioned this a bit before, but when you mentioned about doing things by yourself, sort of linked to being only child. But how would you say your upbringing has shaped your creative expression or style?
It shaped me in the sense of be ignorant with it.
Be ignorant to them.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Okay. Okay, you know what? Yeah. Actually, yeah, no, maybe I shouldn't have said that in the sense of I feel like as earthly beings, certain words we attach negative connotation to it. So like ignorance, we're gonna attach ignorance to whatever conditioning or what
Sure.
ignorance or what we
It's
think.
loaded.
It's loaded with something else, but not just take the word for the word and look at the context it's delivered in. So when I say ignorance, sorry, I have memory cards dangling everywhere. Tracks of being a videographer slash photographer. Eh? I'm sorry
Classic.
about
It's
that.
cool.
It's probably all throughout the audio.
It's
My
cool.
bad, my
Don't
bad.
worry about it.
But what was I saying? So
Ignorance.
ignorance in the sense of growing up, I felt like in order to maybe make friends, you gotta be good at something. Or for other kids to rate you, you gotta be good at something. Or you need to be of value. I don't know if that's
Provide something of value.
yeah.
Like, you
Or
know.
maybe that's just my perspective from looking outside in.
Mm.
So in the sense of, so I was a kid that would go to the park. Obviously, there's no siblings, so it's just me and my football, and I got comfortable with that. And that was just the understanding that, you know what, majority of the time I'm playing by myself, I need to entertain myself. Ultimately, I need to express myself. Ultimately, it's like, yes. So once, so like going back to being good. So when you're in the park, you're playing ball. Other kids are going to play. Oh, he's pretty good. Yo, do you wanna play with us? I'm like, yeah, sure. You're playing with them. It's like, oh, yo, he's good. And then the other cool kids, it's like, no, 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 you be on my team. The next thing it's like, oh, people want you around when you're of value, or if you're cool at something, or if you're good at something, which is quite interesting. Because then going again to progression and each one teach one, through that like through the journey, it teaches you that although other people want to hang around with you if you're good at something, it's also the minute detail of them wanting to learn off you. But sometimes we ignore that, be like, yo, nah, you're not cool as me, or you're not doing this and that. And by the way, I said I'm not cool as me, just as, I'm not saying I'm the
We've
coolest.
already established you're the
no,
coolest.
no, no,
So.
no, no, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm
That's not what
joking.
I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But going back to value,
Mhm.
because it's like, oh, if I can learn from this person, or if this and that, then I'm going to do ABC. So it's shaped me in the sense of being ignorant with it, in the sense of, yo, none of us know the way out, but the way out is really what you hear, enjoy it. That's what I got from it, in the sense of, well, from just looking and watching the world go by. It's like, you know what, let me just have fun while I'm here. That's why it's like, all right, let me just play with my ball while I'm here. I know there's all the world going on around me, but I need to be comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
I need to be comfortable with my thoughts. I need to be comfortable doing ABC. So, yeah, that's what shaped me. I don't know if it answers your question.
I think it does.
Because I feel like I go on a tangent a little bit. But yeah,
No, this
I
one made
think,
sense.
yeah, I
This
feel
made
like
sense.
it forces you, because there isn't really anyone to look up to. So it's like, so who am I in this world that I live in?
Yeah. I guess
Yeah.
that sort of it encourages self exploration and self
Yeah.
expression and
A lot.
self sustenance.
Yeah, and like a lot more. Because okay, here's the thing. Because I feel like every time I looked out, it was always a contrast from my being or my sort of like life experiences. So what I mean by that, it's almost like in every situation or in every friends group that I ended up in, I always felt like I was always the odd one out. So it always forced me to lean into that. So what I mean by the odd one out, you know, I grew up in Belfast. You're the odd one out in terms of melanin. Some of us are richly melaninated. Some people are melanin deficient. That's just science. But no, what? No, no, no.
It's just science.
It's just science. No, we're all beings.
Yeah.
So, like, what I mean by that is that, in that essence, it's like, oh snap, I'm already different. Okay, cool. I'm cool with these people. Oh snap, they come from a two-parent home. Oh snap, my dad ain't here. I'm already like there's. Oh snap, oh you got siblings. Alright, so if something goes south, you got someone to call up on. Meanwhile, my mindset or what I was taught was, yo, don't get into something you can't get out of. So initially I need to be calculated in terms of if I see that this is, oh, you know what, I need to check the signs. Oh, this looks like, yo, this boy is wilding. You know what? Nah, I ain't vibing with this, and I can lean into that. Going back to the ignorance, like be ignorant with it. I can lean into that because I know ain't no one bailing me out. Like, yo, you're gonna ring up your brother, you're gonna ring your sister, or you're gonna ring up your dad, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me, it's just like, nah, I ain't going in there. Oh, yeah, it just forced me to be calculated and lean more towards myself.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't chill with me, I don't really care.
You got yourself.
Yeah, I got myself anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I came here by myself, and chances are I'll leave by myself. I might see you elsewhere. But like, oh, yeah, I recognize you from Earth. That's just, who knows? Like,
Yeah.
that's okay, no love lost. Like, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does.
So, yeah, be ignorant with it, as in embrace yourself, rather than looking outwards. Because when I looked outwards, everything was so different from mine. It's like, I know there's no point looking outside. Let me look at myself. All right, so if this is myself, I like that. Should I care what someone thinks? No. Why? Nah, I shouldn't. I just do me.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not as easy as said, because I feel like it's a continuous journey.
It is, for sure.
It's continuous, and
Yeah.
that's a beauty in life, and embracing it.
I relate with so much of it, to it. Like what you said, like being the odd one out, I was always that too.
Yeah.
And it was just ever since like very early school days for me, I always feel like a odd one out. And then when I moved to the UK as well, got amplified. So I sort of went through a similar journey. So I relate with that. Of having to depend on yourself for enjoying life and living life.
And actually, you know what? Yeah, actually, I got a question for you. Because obviously, I know it from one perspective. I know it from a perspective of there isn't a template in terms of an older sibling. You have a sibling.
I do, yeah.
How did it look from that view of having a sibling? Did that sort of give you, let me say, a gauge, or sort of, I don't know, some sort of comfort in this, like, while you're exploring yourself?
Yeah, it did, to be honest. So I have an older brother, 6 years older, and yeah, so he was the first child, and as the first child, I feel like he just took a lot of the risk, and took a lot of the damage.
Yeah, he was the trial and error.
He was a trial and error.
Sorry, dude, I don't.
Nah,
really
he's
like
a great
that.
guy. But I think
so was I. Sorry, continue.
So no, I definitely learned from that, from seeing his journey, and then sort of learning through him as well, seeing like his mistakes, for example, and places he would get into trouble. And obviously my parents will also make sure that I learned that too. But it also comes with, so I mean, it's obviously not just positives, also tons of, not tons, but there's pitfalls with anything. One pitfall, for example, was comparison.
Oh, interesting.
And I wasn't ever like, I wasn't comparing myself to my brother, but other people would.
Right, okay.
Like
so
teachers in school.
Yeah.
Like for example, there was a teacher that taught my brother 5 years ago. She was still there, and now she was teaching me. And my brother just happened to get better grades at, at a bunch of classes. And so this teacher would make sure that she would let me know that my brother got better grades.
Straight kilo on this.
Yeah, and why am I not doing as well as my brother?
Yeah.
And so like all those things would start a cycle of comparison in me as a kid, of like, I always have like this thing to like live up to.
So it's almost like he sets the benchmark.
Yeah.
So there's that thing to live up to.
So yeah, that was like one of the pitfalls, but at the same time.
So wait, did you try get better than that, in the sense of if he kind of sets a benchmark, did you try at least surpass it, or was it something that you're like, no, I don't care if I don't?
As you know me, I'm not super competitive, so.
As you know me, on the other hand.
Yeah, you are. So basically, no, I didn't. I didn't really try to like, now I have to make sure I get better than my brother did. It just made me frustrated and pissed off. But I didn't actually care about like performing, but it would just make me frustrated and like, can this teacher just shut up? Like,
Okay. So it made you hate certain interactions per se.
But it didn't really it didn't kick into my competitive side. It
Mhm.
just it just became like a sort of annoying thing that
Okay.
okay, the people are comparing. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, at the same time, he also like it was great for support, and he is great for support. And just as like having some sort of sidekick,
Yeah.
in a way, as brothers.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
nice.
so
Yeah.
that was cool. But in like in school and we didn't go to school together or anything like that because we were 6 years
Yeah.
apart. So in like most of my forming experiences, I was by myself. It was
Yeah.
me and other kids, like
Yeah.
stranger
Yeah.
kids.
Because obviously you're not necessarily in the same circles
Same
based on the age
circles,
gap.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So most of the time, I was just the odd one out with
Yeah.
my brother not there to like support me. I was just like
Yeah.
with some random kids or wherever. So yeah, had to
Okay.
go back to self ultimately.
Yeah.
Had to go back to self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I guess we all have different journeys, but we
Yeah.
get somewhere, and then that's where the self-expression comes from. It's like you're always gonna find your tribe, so I shouldn't be afraid to express myself because guess what? It just might curate my tribe.
And it does.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
lean
Like
into
attracts
that.
like.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, and the thing you said about providing value and enjoying what you're doing and getting good at something, that's also true too. I mean that
Yeah,
the world just does work like that.
yeah,
If someone, I don't know, it's just it is cool to see someone good at something,
yeah.
and if someone is in their
There's
element,
something teachable about it.
yeah, for sure, something inspiring.
Yeah,
If someone is in their element, you have more to talk about with them first. It also adds to the approachability, I think.
yeah.
Something to talk about, as opposed to if someone's not doing anything, maybe you don't know what to talk about.
No, but see, I feel like, oh, I'm slightly going to disagree
Go
with
for
you
it,
there,
yeah.
Names, in saying if someone doesn't do anything, there might not be anything to talk about. I feel like in life, those people can also teach you something.
Oh, sure.
Like, I feel like most of the time, I could be wrong, I feel like some of those people that I've interacted with that are seen as maybe not doing something, they also teach the sort of letting go
Mm.
because they're not really attached to anything. So it's kind of like, even with the art, there was an element of me that I had to kind of surpass, which was letting go. Because of those people that we're speaking about, and I could be wrong, but they're very good at letting go, and typically they're the ones who move around a lot.
Yeah.
So those people, I feel like for them, or to me anyway, they teach the element of letting go, of like, don't get too attached to
Too
certain
caught
things.
up.
Yeah, don't get
Yeah.
too caught up. So the only thing I'm caught up with is just like expressing myself, but at the same time allowing time for rest. Because once again, those people show that. Yes, I don't know if they reflect the way I do, but it's almost like not everything has to be 100 miles an hour. So,
For sure.
so yeah, like even those people, even through our human experiences, I feel like interacting with those people is quite teachable because as humans, we're more similar than we are different.
Definitely.
So there's always
Yeah.
something teachable there.
Definitely. Everyone's got something to teach, and everyone is good at something. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to be an activity. It could just be like something. And everyone has a story.
yeah. And see, once again, I feel like I've stopped trying to gauge what someone is good at
Yeah.
or what their value they bring.
Yeah.
I've only, it's kind of,
But teachability, for example,
yeah. See, I feel like in my experience,
not teachability. Sorry.
no, it's
God.
fine. I feel like in my experience, certain people have weeded themselves out
Mm-hmm.
without me having to analyze or me to fall out with someone, which is what I'm also grateful for in terms of certain people just like you're not necessarily involved with, but that's because also you just see the world differently. But that's their journey. So that's what I mean about I've kind of stopped looking at someone's journey or if they're doing something, is it good or bad? Nah, why should I care? Because guess what? They're having a human experience and they're on their journey. So maybe someone else might be looking at me thinking, well, he looks lost. But yo, don't
It's
sweat me.
true.
You should point me the right direction or I'm just having a human experience. Just like you, I bleed red. So I'm also in my journey, just like you are. So acknowledge me as a being.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. It's all relative.
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah.
Like looking at other people's paths, you can only see from your own value, like sort of, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what the right term for it is, but your own values, or
Yeah.
you can only judge based on your own
Yeah.
values.
It's kind
There's
of
no objective
yeah.
judgment
Exactly. So
coming through you.
like that's what I mean. For me, my only judgment is, am I comfortable in this space? If I don't feel comfortable in this space, peace. And that's just to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
with my, let's call it the vibe. The vibe
Yeah.
wasn't right.
It's natural
It's just natural. And
oil and water.
yeah, but see, once again, it goes back to my upbringing, I guess, of always analyzing situations. And maybe now I've also grown a different sort of perspective to it, in the sense of I feel like I'm trying to get to know more my other side of my existence, and that's the spirit side. Because we're always talking mental health, we're always talking physical health, but there's this other thing that we neglect, the thing that helps you sleep at night, which is your spirit. Because your spirit knows if you came up short today, or if you like if you're okay. Do
It
you know what I
does.
mean?
Yeah.
Because yeah, I hope that makes sense to
Yeah.
other people, and maybe I'm just like that weirdo that talks about the spirit. Because I think about, as humans, we have three entities: spirit, physical, and then the brain or the mind. So mind, body, spirit.
Mind, body, spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to spirit.
Uh-oh.
Not gonna.
I don't know much. I just hypothesize
Not gonna let you stop
when
there.
I'm sitting there with my thoughts.
But yeah, no, that was yeah. I enjoyed that. Um, yeah, that was a big answer to one question. I loved it.
Sorry.
All came from the
You
upbringing
triggered
question.
me, names, because yeah.
I'm meant to. That's why I'm here to.
Yeah. And by the way,
Uh-huh.
let me just like put a disclaimer into the words I speak. I'm not saying this is how life is or how life is not. I'm only hypothesizing
Yeah.
and coming. I'm only exploring self, and it's like, yo, it's almost like I went out somewhere. I don't know, farm or whatever you want to call it, or some forest, and you're like, yo, what did you see out there? I'm only describing what I seen.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're not saying this is
I'm
how
not
the
saying
world
this is how the world
should
is.
be.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I
I get
said,
you.
it's a hypothesis that I feel like there's this other third thing. You know, when you're sitting there, you're like, yo, something was just telling me, yo, I shouldn't go down this road. I don't know what it is, because already we've separated from the mind and the body. If you say you don't know what it is, but something told you to take a left, and then all of a sudden something happened down that road.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there was a shooting down. It's like, what? Really? What time was it at? It was 11. Damn, that's around the time I walked past. But something told you to just take a left. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. I'm trying to get to know that side of things. Sorry. You
Intuition.
said, yeah, intuition, because I feel like it's also tied in with the spirit.
Yeah.
Because if you follow intuition, you're less likely to regret anything. Because, sorry.
Okay, so actually, let's go into it now. I'm gonna take a shortcut.
A shortcut. No, don't take a shortcut. Some say shortcuts cut you short.
It's not a shortcut. It's just a detour.
That's fine. I
So
like tangents.
what would you say your connection to spirituality is like?
It's unknown because it's still ongoing. So what would I say my connection is like? I don't know, but I try to get to know it. I know I'm saying the same thing twice, just different words, but it's to hope I emphasize the point that I don't know. So I think what attaches me to it is the unknown, but I do feel like it does exist. So I'm only trying to get to know it. It's one of the reasons why I've adopted meditation.
Cool.
I feel like some say you get to know self through that, even though I do just like sit and just sit with my thoughts. But yeah, I'm getting to know it. And to be fair, it's funny because in my own podcast, I started calling it the three niggas. By the way, three niggas, let me just, sorry, you know me names. Three niggas, it comes from, no, let's go with the spelling. The spelling, Negus. Negus.
Kendrick Lamar.
There you
That's what
go.
reminds
So
me.
yeah, go listen to that. So that's what I call my three niggas. So that's a mind, body, and spirit. Because as earthly beings, we know more about the mind and the body. So the spirit is what I'm trying to get to know. And yeah, that's the only way I can say. And me trying to get to know it also ties in with how I feel when I go to sleep at night. So
What
it's
do you mean?
trying to be at peace
Alright.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
That the
feel
little
like,
voice inside you
yeah,
just
if it's a
knows.
peace, yeah, exactly. I feel like it just knows, and it's me trying to listen to it. Because although I said earlier that I rate eyesight, I think it's one of the greatest senses. At the same time, the brain is what processes the information. So it can get stimulated by anything, and usually it's looking for a thrill. It's like what's going to make us excited, but then it's trying to quiet those thoughts down based on the stimuli,
Yeah.
and then finding that inner voice. And I feel like I could be wrong on this. I feel like the more you search for it, the louder you hear it,
Mm.
or the louder it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's just me just looking at things, thinking, wow, so that happened. Someone did that. Someone up there orchestrated that. And it's me trying to appreciate those little moments and being grateful. It's also
Yeah.
me trying to get to know my spirit. So it's ongoing.
So you said you started meditating.
Yeah.
How has that been? Or like, what have you noticed
What have I noticed?
in yourself
I
since
feel
you
like
started?
I feel like what it's done for me so far, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, and I typically do it in the mornings. And so I'm trying to paint
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like. I typically do it in the mornings, and that's after my stretches. I feel like what it's done for me, it's made me more grateful and more so willing to explore self, like not again, but even more. Do you know what I mean? Like, so what I mean by grateful, it's like you sit there, you meditate, and then you quiet down the thoughts, and then you open your eyes, and then you look around. It's like I'm actually alive. So this is my being. This is me in my physical form. Okay, where are we taking you today? I hope you're in tip-top shape. And then brain, let's make it exciting, but let's not be silly. Let's not follow the stimuli too much. Let's just do what we want and try to be present while setting up tomorrow.
Mm.
So yeah, great. Like being grateful. Yeah, being grateful is what it's done for me. Yeah, I'd say that so far, and I'm still exploring it.
Do you think it makes the intuitive force stronger or clearer?
I feel like it makes it okay, good word in the sense of you say clearer. I feel like it's more so clearer
Yeah.
than anything else. So okay, what I mean by that is see the positive thoughts. The positive thoughts kind of open your eyes to a different type of stimuli. A stimuli of acknowledgement and sort of approaching things with love. Do you know what I mean? So it's like an example would be you wake up, let me say, and you're not necessarily grateful. So really you're thinking about what you're going to be doing in the day, blah, blah, blah. And then someone cuts you off in traffic. And then you might while out only because you were interrupted in your thought. This is hypothesis. I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
this is what is. So you're going to react and you might get angry, blah, blah, blah. But then if you're in the element of gratitude, it's almost like when you're grateful, it forces you to be present. Because we can't be grateful for tomorrow. You're grateful for right now. So when you're right now, you look around you. So whenever someone cuts you off, it's like, whoa, look at God, it just saved me. If that makes sense?
Mm.
So it's those little nuances. So you start being grateful. So imagine I was, you know what, you got me. So that's why there's also the understanding that I do exist, but also when I'm present, you acknowledge things a lot more. You start seeing things that we call a coincidence. Well, that's just me.
Yeah.
It's like you start seeing things that are coincidence. Yeah,
And you start to see how they align with other things.
yeah,
And so maybe they're not coincidence.
yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, a good example was when we went to somewhere in Scotland, was near Scotland. We went to
For the art trip.
no, not the art trip, but it was it was a festival. Kendall is calling.
Kendall Color.
Yeah, Kendall calling.
Yeah.
So do you remember we took different routes and we all went different
Oh, yeah,
times,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and somehow I ended up getting there before you.
Yeah.
So on that journey, it was quite eventful, but I ended up taking different routes. Well, that's where Maps was telling me, and being present and me vibing, blah blah blah. I seen a road. The road was called Nateby Road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember I
I
rang you.
remember.
Like, we're actually on the phone at that time.
Yeah.
So like, I was just like, what? The road is called Napier Road, blah, blah, blah. And that's the road I was driving on at the time. So I'm just looking around these all massive fields, blah, 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 blah. So fast forward to me at work. I'm working, you mentioned engineering earlier. So I'm a highway and drainage designer. So I'm working, so I get a scheme. The scheme is actually Napier Road. So, um, so I get all the information about that scheme. But the information that was missing for me to actually do it and make sure that there's enough visibility on the road was I didn't really know what the speed limit was. But because I was present and I was in there, I was like, oh yeah, this is a 40 mile per hour road.
Because you paid attention at work.
Yeah, exactly, because I was
What a
paying
connection.
attention and I got gassed about what the road was, and which means I was present, like, you know what I mean, I was just enjoying the moment. And then someone was like, yes,
So all the little things you can pick up
like
if you're just
all
present.
those little things. And here's the thing. So now to me, it validates kind of, it encourages me ignorantly. Once again, it's like the ignorance. It's like, oh, snap, you've seen it. So it's like, I then am grateful for where I'm at because it gives me that you're supposed to be here, or maybe this is what, it ties things in. Do you know what I mean? Those little coincidences,
Yeah.
because I feel like they do exist.
Yeah. I like the connection between gratitude and presence. I had actually never made that connection in my head before.
Yeah.
Because I used to think you can, I don't know. I just hadn't made that connection before between gratitude and presence. But I think
I feel like there's
the
a
full
connection.
force of
Yeah.
gratitude is felt while present.
Yeah, well, present, because like all you're thinking about is actually right now when you're being grateful. Because if I said, yo, what are you grateful right now? I'm just making a hypothetical question. It's like you don't necessarily have to answer it, but in the sense of you're gonna think what you have in your immediate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm gonna.
That's more real anyway. Because
Yeah.
you can also think about past or future. Like, I don't know, I'm going to do something tomorrow. I'm grateful
Yes,
for
but
that.
if you're grateful for the past, I feel like it also ties in with the present because it means you are grateful for where you are
Where
right
you
now.
are right now. That's true. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Ultimately, the anchor is the present moment and is all that exists
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Anyway,
So, yeah. No, that's cool. You mentioned engineering. I want to do a quick one on that. Do you think your engineering background has given you any advantage when it comes to your creative work?
I don't know if it's an advantage, but I feel like it gave it, let's say, structure, or maybe it gave it. It's a tough one to answer, but I feel like they do kind of tie in, right? Okay, so I like shapes. I feel like that relates to engineering, like in terms of like just shapes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to photography, I like how things are framed. I feel like in terms of my style, if you want to call it style, in my head when I'm looking at the photos, it's shapes. Actually, a good example is that one, that photo right there. Sorry, I know the viewers can't see it. I don't,
I'll try and put a little thing
yeah.
on.
So example that one, I just liked how the shapes looked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's good.
So I feel like if you take my photo, you can draw lines all around it. So I feel like that's just like, it's kind of like a triangulation when I'm looking at a survey. So a triangulation is just looking at the contours of how, so, sorry. So yeah, shapes, and then also then the presentation of how the shapes are actually shown.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it does correlate in terms of how I frame things visually.
Nice.
So yeah,
That's cool.
hope that was.
Yeah. I think I mean, I agree because for me too. Obviously, I was an engineer too, so
Yeah,
yeah, I see that. Yeah.
yeah.
Geometry and
Exactly.
also I've noticed just editing and like the sort of grit that goes into
Yeah.
computer programs.
Yeah, yeah.
Like handling technical programs.
But see, I'm trying to. Well, not even trying. I might stop using the word trying. Sorry, I just went to my brain there
That's
for a
gonna be a
second.
GIF.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But like what I was saying is, I lost my train of thought just because I was thinking about trying.
Trying. Yeah, I was saying computer programs.
Oh yes, sorry.
Technical
Yes,
programs.
what I'm doing is embracing them and seeing them as the unknown. So rather than like even the editing process, I don't see it as long. I see it as part of it.
Part of
Because
the
if I
process.
do enjoy it, then
Yeah.
I'm not going to dread it.
Mhm.
If I don't dread it, all coincides with each other, then I'm going to
Yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah, I feel like life is a lot of conditioning. I feel like it's just conditioning, really, majority of the time.
It is, yeah. And changing your
Now, where's your
definitions of things.
yeah, and then now comes in where's your moral compass?
Yeah.
But then the moral compass is also dependent on the conditioning, so it's just
A lot of conditioning.
yeah, it's just a loop.
Yeah. Conditioning upon
Yeah,
conditioning.
so it's like learning and learning, learning and learning.
Yeah. Change your
Conditioning,
conditioning,
yeah,
change your life.
yeah, conditioning, decondition, condition, decondition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
It's a
continuing.
calibration
Yeah,
system.
yeah,
Yeah. I always do like. I feel like life has a lot of. Is quite analogous to control systems in engineering.
Go on. You found the secrets, y'all.
Nerd break.
Mhm.
Let's do a little quick nerd round. But in a control system where things sort of like go up, they go down, and then eventually at some point they converge on the target.
Yeah,
I feel like I see that process in so many things within myself. So like when I start a new venture or a lot of things, I overshoot and then I try and go the exact opposite because of that, and then zigzags until
yeah.
I find it, and then it's like, okay, this is, and then it
What's the
converges.
yeah, yeah. I feel like my conditioning of the fact that I feel like I acknowledge that I know that no, you cannot be on the up, but I always wait for you know what I know, well, not even that I wait for it. I know that I'm gonna reach a point whereby life is gonna throw me a curveball, and the curveball may come in the
Oh
form
yeah.
of, or usually the form is in the sense of, oh, actually I thought I knew, but I don't,
Mm.
or there's so much more to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think, oh, I've mastered it, oh, actually there's more to learn.
Yeah.
Oh, actually there's more to learn. So yeah, I think yeah, it is like that. It's just ups and
Reacting
downs,
to
smiles and frowns.
stimuli. Yeah.
Yeah, once again, so conditioning on how you process that information.
Sure. Yeah. Um, you have a podcast now, yourself.
Yeah,
Not now. You've had it for a while now.
for a while.
Episode 18, 19. You're
Yeah, I
working on
think I
now.
think I
Yeah.
think we 18. That's the
Yeah.
latest one.
Nice, man. Like
18.
good
So
going.
actually, that's
Amazing going.
that's 18 weeks.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's dope. What changes have you noticed in yourself since you started podcasting?
I would say it amplified the reflective side. All right. Okay. So let's take it back. So in the past, or how I've been living before the podcast, it's like the reflective side of things is usually mental or isolated in the sense of it's always in the brain. Like, yes, the podcast, by the way, is called Why We're Not Recording This.
Why we're not recording this?
Yes, why we're not recording this. I mean, it's in the name because I feel like with the homies, we always have interesting conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it was always like, yo, why are we not recording this? Or we're doing something fun. It's like, oh, yo, why are we not recording this? So I thought, you know what, it's something that fits.
Link in description.
Yeah. However, where there's a twist now in terms of from the conversations, because we always have enlightening conversations, one way or the other, and each one teach one. So previously, we would have the conversations. You won't necessarily recall all of them. You only recall certain snippets of it. And usually, that's also based on memory. Sometimes we remember things incorrectly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what the podcast has done is it allows me to hear myself back. So it's almost a different nuance to the reflection. So it's like, oh, I said that, but do I believe it? So if I said that and if I believe it, what does it mean in my being? Because also, so there's one thing that I'm also trying to do in the sense of, like in the world of being, is I try once again, here we go. I told you I need to,
Noticing it.
yeah, exactly.
Awareness
I
is
need
the
to,
first step.
yeah, it always is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I do is speak like I'm speaking to myself. That way it feels a lot more genuine, or at least the spirit is happy with it, or the inner person is happy with it. So approach it like the people I talk to or the people I interact with, they are really vessels of inspiration for those thoughts that then get sparked from that conversation. So once that happens, I then go back and watch it back and actually be like, do you believe that? And then I have to look at myself. Because one thing that I'm doing, I landed it properly this time. One thing that I'm doing is I want my essence I know I'm speaking like sometimes.
Do it.
No, essentially, I want my essence to speak before I speak. If that makes sense. Like, you know, when someone comes around you and you're just like, ooh, you've got good energy about you. Like, there's just something about being around you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to embody my being
Yeah.
a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I think, yeah, especially with video, when you see things with video, I think that can be felt more
Yeah.
as a consumer. You can see someone's embodied energy.
Yeah.
I feel that, yeah.
So, like, basically, I want those two to sort of coincide because it's actually, like, you know what? A good person or a good example for that we know, but not necessarily, I'm not talking about the ethics because we can all have our opinions about people, that's whatever. But in the sense of, if I told you that Snoop Dogg was seen creep walking somewhere in Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
your brain would be like, why is he doing that? Your brain would be like, oh, that's just Snoop. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So you're saying his essence is
like
taken over.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you can't expect no less. It's like, oh well, yeah, that's new. Like I think that's a peaceful place to be,
Yeah.
whereby people kind of understand your intentions to a certain extent just by looking at you and just by your aura. Because I feel like going back to the unspoken thing, because we speak about the physical side of things and the mind, the aura, because I feel like we all come with auras.
Yeah.
And I want to understand mine, and because that's the first thing that comes to the forefront
Mm-hmm.
when meeting people.
And the podcast, I guess, yeah, I can see what you're saying. Like, it sort of forces you to reflect on that
Yeah, a lot
and
more.
check that, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially if you watch it back.
because also, you know, watching it back, you also find like, ooh, am I a hypocrite? Like, it makes you question, am I a hypocrite?
Yeah.
And then that's where you check yourself, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, actually, you know what? And certain things, it's like, ooh, you know what? I said that. Nah, you know what? I need to keep up to that.
Yeah.
Not in a negative way,
It's just you want to stand behind your words, right?
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel that.
yeah,
Yeah. And sometimes you hear yourself say things and like, would I put my entire life behind those words?
yeah.
And obviously, ideally, I want to. I
Exactly,
want to be
exactly,
completely behind
exactly.
every word.
And to be fair, like, funny enough, right? There was an episode. I don't know if you. I'm sure you know it. You've seen it. I'll see if I'm wrong.
Which
Oh
one?
well. Black Mirror.
Uh-huh.
There was an episode that came out whereby this lady, I think it's Joan.
Yeah, John is awful. I watched it, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
See,
Spoiler alert.
by the way, you know that Joan wasn't being a bad person, but
Yeah.
how it's played out, it actually made her look awful. But that's because there's little nuances in how a person moves. So it's like, if you understood the thought process as to why she made certain decisions, you can understand she was being human. But because of how it then plays out, it's like, wait, hold on, it makes no sense. So coming back to my being, I want, if you see me, you talk to me, it's kind of like, I kind of knew that. Well, not that you kind of knew that, but I felt that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it makes sense, me tying it into Joan is awful. But I feel like there's a parallel somewhere.
Yeah. I'm not sure I 100% understood the connection.
Okay, the connection is, okay, so in that, Joan, but basically we have to break down the whole show. But basically, remember when she fired Homegirl?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When she
Oh,
fired,
she did it because she had to.
yeah, she did
Yeah.
it because she had to.
Mhm.
But on the surface, it looks like, and
She did it best.
yeah, she did that. And Homegirl was like, yo, I thought I knew you. I also invited you to ABC. You might find that she would have loved to, she would have done that, but she did this because she had to.
Mhm.
And there was no way she could not do it.
Yeah.
And she's not really in a position to do ABC. But then if she knew Joan and understood Joan, she'd be like, you know what, actually, I get why you did that.
Sure. Yeah.
But because the essence wasn't necessarily felt,
Yeah, yeah.
it just looked like, yo, you're just so far removed, you don't
Judging
even...
by the actions and not
There you
the
go.
context of the action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm. No, I got that. That's cool. I got that now.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Standing behind your words. That's something that I feel too.
Yeah.
Very much. And podcasting does amplify that.
Yeah.
Because we all want to stand behind our words.
But no, wait. Sorry. So I'm gonna.
Go on.
We all need to stand behind our words. However, we need
Want
to
to,
give
so.
room
Mm.
for improvement.
Yeah.
Because when you know
It's an
better, you do
idealistic
better.
thing.
Yeah. When you do better, when you know better, you do better. And what also that means is, if I don't know, I might do some ignorant things.
If you don't
Until
know.
until I learn, until I know better,
Yeah.
I might not do better. So if my life journey hasn't taught me not to,
Yeah. So
not like, do you know what I mean?
yes, it opens up some space because you can be fully. Obviously, you can't go full tyrant on yourself, basically.
Exactly.
Because you gotta leave room for improvement,
Hmm.
and you gotta accept that sometimes you'll slip up, just because you're human and everyone slips up.
And that's where, as society, I feel like we forget that part. We
It's
think
true.
everyone is going to be perfect.
It's true.
And see, that's what I mean about the podcast. That's also what I'm getting at is, although I'm doing it, although I'm saying a lot of things, yes, I do reflect. However, do not hang me on that fence because I might have not known better.
I'm only human.
I'm only human.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, that's good. I'm glad you opened that little space up on the other side of that point. 'Cause it's important, but a space.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It is.
Because also, sorry, I'm just going to add. Because then I feel like if my essence ties in with my aura with everything, you're more likely to know my intentions, that they're not to harm. So whatever I say, even if it may sound ignorant, you may give me the benefit of doubt, like, oh, actually, he probably just doesn't know about ABC.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to think I'm open-minded enough to welcome whatever teachable moment there is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it just felt
Yeah.
like I needed to add that little fine print at the bottom.
You should write a book
Oh,
at some
I
point.
do want to, you know.
Yeah.
I do want to, you know. And actually, I told one of the homies he's going to write it with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I want to.
Looking forward to it.
See
Now
what
you make the
that's-
cover.
There you go. See, now I've planted a seed. Now no, but that's a good thing though, because it's
Yeah.
like it's gonna hold me accountable. It's like, yo, you said you wanted to do this, so it's almost like I'm planting a seed, even if the seed doesn't germinate until 10 years down the line.
Oh yeah, whenever.
Because, funny enough, right? We talk about the podcast, so I'm gonna tie it back into a statement I just made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, actually, even longer, because we recorded other samples in between a podcast, and this was maybe last year or the year before. So you know, I've been wanting to do them,
Oh yeah.
and I only started 17 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I've been wanting to do them for so long.
Yeah.
And going back to teachable moments, and hanging out with different people, and learning to let go. It was one of those ones like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Beep it, why not? I'm gonna do it.
Take the leap, and now you're on fire. Every week.
Yeah, time will tell. But
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun. It's quite therapeutic. Sorry.
I've already picked this up, or I've already picked this up throughout this conversation and through knowing you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people have picked it up throughout this conversation, but I feel like it's fair to say you're a man of principles.
I don't know if I am.
No?
I don't know.
I feel like you have some principles.
Okay, go on. What's one of my principles?
Well, that's my question.
I just said I don't know if I have principles. You're going to tell me I got principles.
Okay,
Damn.
let me tell you one of your principles.
Yeah.
Do no harm.
Okay.
I feel like that's
guess,
one of your principles.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's an easy one, and maybe tied into my upbringing and also being an only child and also observing a lot. It's like, yo, do unto others as you want done to you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was gonna say, what would you say are some of the most foundational principles or philosophies in your life, if you were to summarize?
I guess that's the main one, really.
Yeah.
Do unto others as you want done to you. That's the ultimate one.
Nice.
And I guess that's the sort of the outward one, is do
Yeah.
unto others as you want done to you. And then the other one is just approach everything with love. And that means it's not necessarily love outwardly. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying it most so starts with self. If you love yourself and love your space, I feel like it gives room to be open-minded about the outside, because then you're comfortable in your own space or in your own thoughts, or like love your being or your existence, because then you start to acknowledge the other existence, which is do unto others as you want done to you. Because
Yeah,
if you love
connected.
yourself, you're not gonna then want to cut someone else's face, because you're like, oh, actually, because I guess it's empathy then. And it's like, yo, I don't want my face cut, so I'm not gonna really do it to you, because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Those two connect together very well, actually.
yeah. So it's yeah, do unto others as you want done to you, and approach everything with love, and
Starting with self.
yeah, it starts with self.
Yeah.
Because if you love yourself, then you're more likely gonna be a lovable person. And you can argue that, wait, is that trying to fit in? Is it not? But it
Mhm.
helps me sleep.
Yeah, respect it.
It helps me sleep. And yeah, maybe there's more to it. But yeah, I guess that's the answer to it, man. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't really say I've got major principles like, yo, I'm really militant with it.
No, no, no.
No, I can't think.
Those two are great.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense with who you are. That was my projection onto you anyway. From my side, it felt like you have principles.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious to
Because
know.
you're fairly calculated
Yeah.
with yourself.
Well, that's it. Maybe that's a principle. Don't get into something you can't get out of.
Mm.
So that means self-analysis and analyzing the situation, and yeah,
That's a good one.
I don't know. Like, I'm not saying people should be calculated, but we need to be calculated. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying be
No, no, none of
like,
this is
don't be
advice.
calculated at
Yeah.
the expense of someone else, but be calculated in your being. And is it gonna make me? Is it gonna help me sleep at night, or is this leading me to where I want to go? If it's not conducive to those two things,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Like, if is this gonna aid me tomorrow? No. Why am I here?
It's a sort of efficiency.
Yeah, because also, funny enough, this year I started looking into idle time. I think we spoke about this many, many months ago.
Yeah.
Idle time. It's like I'm still trying to identify that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does it look like? Because then maybe it could be applied elsewhere.
Yeah, you can find batches of it here and there. I
Yeah,
always find
exactly.
little batches.
Yeah. So
It's never enough.
I need them batches, because I feel like
Yeah.
24 hours sometimes might not be enough.
Yeah.
It's like, snap, it's already, damn, I need to go to
I
sleep.
feel
I
that,
need
yeah.
my
I feel that.
7, 8 hours. I need to sleep. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
This is different, man. This is nice.
Yeah.
It's like being interviewed. It's, well, sitting down on a different podcast, should I say, not
Yeah.
even interviewed.
I knew it was going to be a different
Quite-
format for you. So
Yeah.
I got 3 quick fire questions.
Ooh.
They don't have to be quick fire, but they're just 3
Okay.
questions. Okay, first one. Do you have any advice for people looking to start with camera work? Simple, getting into cameras.
Okay, yeah, the simple
Tiny
advice. I know
things.
it's probably gonna sound generic, but I like Nike, so just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, self-exploration. I just did it. I did civil engineering in uni, and then I ended up doing multiple things, but ultimately it started off with just doing it and being okay with just doing it. And then also, don't do it. Actually, not. It's your journey. Even if you do it because you're influenced by someone else, that's okay, because it's probably part of your journey, and you probably needed that person to actually ignite something in you. So ultimately, just do it, man. But some people might get the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
which I did too. It comes and goes. Once again, just do it. Just roll with the punches. Just do it. Just dive in. And it's funny. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay, the reason why I say it's funny, like, that got amplified a lot more after our exhibition, after the Slum Collective exhibition. And I always go back to that. And that was an interesting time for me, in terms of my uncle passed away, so there was a lot of processing things, and what is it, this existence that we're involved with. And then obviously we called it Fuck It, Why Not?
Yeah.
And Fuck It, Why Not? That's pretty much been my battery since.
Mm.
Like, and so yeah, that's the advice I'd give.
Yeah.
Fuck it, why not? Yeah. I'm not gonna steal Nike even though I like Nikes. Fuck it, why not?
Fuck it, why not?
Yeah,
If you want to do it, just do it.
yeah. What have you got to lose?
Point at something and like
Maybe some sleep.
click.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What have you got to lose? Maybe some
Yeah.
sleep, because you're going to be thinking, should I have done it? Should I do it? And I don't really do regret.
Keep it simple. Keep it
yeah,
moving.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Next question. What are you most fascinated with right now?
What am I fascinated with right now?
Mm-hmm.
I would say life itself. And I feel like that's continuous. I know probably sounds like a hippie dude or whatever society might call it. I'm just fascinated by life and how it unfolds and the little coincidences that happen with it. Because, like I said earlier, my clothing side, I remember being in school and it was an art project. We all gotta make something. You draw something or do whatever, just express yourself. And what I did was a T-shirt. I actually drew a T-shirt. It was a tiger. Yeah, it was a tiger here, and then at the back it had the paws, the four paws, and this and that. So fast forward to uni times. By the way, growing up, I was see these. These were actually jeans, like proper jeans, and I cut them. So that's what I mean. Like I've been there to always just cut my thing, blah blah blah. Fast forward to uni, bam, I started a clothing line. So that's where you just sit back, just laugh at yourself, like, huh, like this is funny.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew? But then at the same time, it's like, wait, was it written in my DNA? And then it's like, you know what, let me just embrace it. I guess this is my being. So life fascinates me in terms of how it unfolds. Yeah, that's what fascinates me.
Definitely does.
So
It's fascinating.
yeah,
It is a fascinating thing.
because it's like, shit. Look at your names. Who would have thought? Like that's what I
Who
mean.
would've
Like
thought?
if that doesn't fascinate you, like going back to gratitude, right? It's
Yeah.
like when you sit sitting there being grateful. It's like, wait, who would have thought?
Hey, one day I looked on Spare Room. I was looking for a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
I found a zine. Ended up moving in with a zine. And then one of my friends happened to give me an exhibition. So I started exhibiting my works.
Mm-hmm.
A zine said it's going to bring a friend to my exhibition. You came along.
Oh yeah, that's how we met.
I was like,
Yeah.
who's this cool motherfucker?
Damn. Thanks,
and,
names.
and now you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the
So if that
unfolding
doesn't
of life.
exactly, so if that doesn't fascinate you and want you to be curious about, yo, so what else is in store? And that's what I mean. It's one
Yeah.
of those things that, like, funny enough, like I said, I feel like gratitude amplifies it in a strange way. Like, yeah, just gratitude, because also, okay, so the gratitude and the meditation ties in also with my mantra, because I always finish it with my mantra, and my mantra has the word rejoice, and like rejoice on the day. So it's like rejoicing just means have fun with it and see the beauty in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so fascinated by life as it
Nice.
unfolds. And
Amazing.
being curious.
Last question.
They were not quick fire. Sorry, these were.
Nah.
No, man, these
They're just
were.
questions.
No. It's just no. I'm saying it in terms of my
Yeah,
answers.
that's
I'm
cool.
not a quick fire dude. I need to sit and let it marinate for a second.
Yeah, like that.
Because-
Good sweet wine.
Yeah.
Last question is a question I ask like all my guests.
Mhm.
What is your definition of success?
Success. My definition of success.
Yeah.
I feel like there's multiple definitions, but then ultimately for me, it rests with my thoughts before I go to sleep. So if the thoughts are good, I've had a successful day. If the thoughts are good, like depending on, like now, it's up to you how we want to cap the time, right?
Sure.
Because if you want to say on the, like, has it been a successful day? Did I execute what I set out to do? Yes.
Mm.
I was successful in that day, so I'll sleep tight. So if I look at the week, how do I feel when I evaluate the week? Was it a successful week? Yes, it was. Did I execute or did I do what I wanted to do? Is everyone... I guess success ties in with my gratitude or how those grateful thoughts come and how what they look like. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
It's
great
a-
way of measuring it, actually.
Yeah, because I feel like on the monetary side, yes, I do like material things. However, I don't feel like there's a cap. And once again, remember
Yeah.
earlier in the podcast, I said I don't like landlocking my thoughts.
Mm.
But ultimately, it's how I sleep at night. So, on the money side of things, I feel like that's open ended
Yeah.
because that's a continuous thing. It's just like my growth, that's a continuous thing. And one thing I'm grateful enough to say, based on where I'm at, on the material side, it's okay. Once again, it goes back to how I'm feeling, how the third nigga's feeling inside, NEGUS. I feel like I need to process that every time. But you know what I mean? It's down to how do I feel
Yeah.
about myself. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where success lies.
How the spiritual voice,
Yeah.
intuitive force within you is speaking to you.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
a
like
great way of
that's where
measuring it.
success is for me anyway.
Yeah. I feel that.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
because I guess it reminds me that I'm human.
It's at the core as well. That where that voice comes from. It's
Yeah.
at the core of you.
Exactly.
So it's a good way of measuring from the core as opposed to measuring from somewhere further out, which is like
Yeah.
the other things.
Yeah, because I think they come
in
and
life.
go.
Yeah.
But once like I said, that inner voice, you're gonna sleep with it. Everything else can come and go, but that voice, you're gonna sleep with it. If
Yeah.
that voice is happy and we're like, yeah, this is where we're meant to be.
Yeah.
Ah, now I'm sleeping tight. I feel like, ooh, I'm successful, baby.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
it's one of those like, ooh, I'm good. Yeah, we're good now. So yeah, I feel like it ties
That's
into that.
It does. I love that. Cool, man.
Yeah,
It's been amazing.
yeah,
having you on.
it has been.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that
been dope.
was. I do talk a lot, and it's one of the reasons why I started
I've enjoyed
recording
it.
these. So yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully it makes sense because I've been told actually that I talk in riddles.
Sometimes you do, but I call yourself connecting things.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it makes sense to me. So
Yeah, aiming to connect it.
yeah.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to say before we finish? Any conclusive remarks or anything you want to let people know about?
Before I conclude, I guess, well, maybe it's gonna go to the advice of just fuck it, why not? But the other one is just be nice.
Just be nice.
Just be nice.
That's what Katie said yesterday as well.
Did she?
For her conclusive remarks.
Yeah, it's just like, yo, you like just be nice. Because
Yeah.
remember, we're all having a human experience.
Mhm.
And with that said, do check out our podcast where we talk about anything and everything.
Why are we not recording
Yeah,
this?
why we're not recording
YouTube,
this.
Spotify, Instagram.
Yeah. And then that said, also, do check out Slang Collective.
Slang
And
captures.
No, Nate Captures. That's
Nate
Slang
Captures.
X-Man. That's my
Slang
personal
X-Man.
one.
Nate
yeah,
Captures.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's quite a few pages.
All links in the bio.
There's going to be a whole list because yeah. And then also obviously check out Slang Collective and then when you're there you're going to see what we involved with because I feel like we cover art in an interesting basis because I feel like all of us have something completely different from everyone else.
Yeah.
So there's something for you to find. So even if you don't really vibe with the words we speak, you might find music that you might enjoy. Or you might find drawings that you enjoy. Or you might find something that you like. So I'm sure there's something for you in there somewhere.
Check out Slang Connected.
So, yeah.
We didn't even talk about Slang, but that could
Yeah.
be for another
Oh
episode.
yeah, that's
But
a
check
whole,
out Slang,
yeah.
our collective.
Yeah.
Lot of cool stuff
And
going on.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
you're gonna see our individual stuff. And thanks, man. It's been
Thanks,
real.
man. Peace, love, and wisdom.
Peace, love, and wisdom.
And until next time, thank you for watching, everyone.
Thank you.